Here's a speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1960. This week's Torah portion is Shmini. What happened in Shmini? First of all, what does Shmini mean? Shmini means 8. This is the 8th day. Which 8th day of what? So last week's Torah reading, it ended off with a very detailed explanation of the 7 days of inauguration of the tabernacle in the desert. The whole thing was built up, and there were 7 days of preparation until the tabernacle was opened up for business. Well, when did it actually begin to function totally? Was what's called the first day of Nisan. First day of Nisan, almost 1 year after the Jews got out of Egypt. Almost 1 year after the Jews got out, right? The Jews got out of Egypt. They camped under Mount Sinai. They received the Torah. Moses went up to Mount Sinai and he brought the first tablets down. He broke them. The Jews worshipped the golden calf. And finally, Moses had to go up 3 times. He received the Torah finally. The last time was on Yom Kippur. And that whole time they were still camped there. And finally they built the tabernacle like about 6 months after Yom Kippur. It was finished. But in order to build it, and to make it work, so it says that 7 days in a row, Moses made the tabernacle and anointed it and did everything, and then he took it down. And then he put it back up again, and he anointed it, and he brought these sacrifices, and he took it down. And on the 8th day, that was the first day it was open for business. Holy Temple. Okay, we'll learn in the Chumash class today that it was supposed to be a happy day. It was supposed to be the happy day. That's when all the 12 tribes, they started to bring their what was called inauguration sacrifices. 12 days they brought. Chanukah Mizbeach. That was the first day. Nachshon ben Aminadav of Yehuda, he brought his sacrifice. But before anyone could do anything, so 2 of Aaron's sons, Nadav and Avihu, they couldn't hold themselves back. This is going to be a revelation of God in the physical world, just like it was in Mount Sinai. And they so tremendously desired and lusted to be close to God that they ran in to the holy temple, to the tabernacle, into the Holy of Holies, unprepared, and they died. They weren't expecting to die, but that wasn't their concern. They just wanted to be close to God. Okay, so I think for this purpose, we'll learn this. Okay. Oifim pasuk on the pasuk by Yibi Yom Shmini, and it was on the 8th day. Frek the Kli Yakar. The Kli Yakar. He was an explanation on the Torah something like 400 years ago. Kli Yakar. What was the Shlomo Lunchitz? For was roof der pasuk the tag was nach the shiva yamim muluim mit namen shmini. Why is this day called the 8th day? The fact of the matter is, it's not the 8th day. The 7 days were days of inauguration. That's all. That's it. They're finished. There was no more days of inauguration. Those 7 days were special 7 days of inauguration of the temple. Miluim, they were called. And that inaugurated, prepared the temple. And this day that came after the 7th, that was the first day that the temple was working, that the tabernacle was working. It wasn't the 8th day. It's not connected to what was before. Was from them, which from this is Masha, it's implied as Erkumt via Hemshech, that it's a continuation of the days of the Miluim, of the 7 days before. The Miluim, the days of the Miluim, Zayin Doch Nit Mer, wie 7 Tag, they were only 7 days. It's like somebody graduating from high school and then ask them, what grade are you now in high school? So I'm not in high school anymore. I finished. What do you mean? What in high school you went up to 12th grade, right? He says, yeah, well, now you're in 13th grade. I'm not in 13th grade. I don't know what you're talking about. I went to university. I'm now a freshman at some university. I'm not 13th grade. You're 13th grade. There's no such thing. When you finish the first stage, 13, then that's it. You're in a new stage already. You graduated. Now you begin something new. They finished the 7 days of inauguration. That's it. There's no number 8 day. Now there's the first day. The whole 7 days were just a preparation for the tabernacle working. That was just a preparation. Like it says, Shivas Yamin Yamalei et Yadechem. It says that only 7 days should be anointed. The Kohanim, Vos is the Tag, Geven, Chanukah Mizbech, which in this day, this 8th day, this was the day of the inauguration, the beginning of the Mishkan. That was the beginning. That was the first day it started working. It should be called the first day, not the 8th day. But their Tag, this day, but their Tag, this day, was nach the Sieben, which is after the 7 days, is given a Zachfrit. It was a thing in itself. Chanukah's Aaron and Bonov. This is the day that Aaron and his sons had been inaugurated. This is not one of the days of the inauguration of the altar. So why is it called the number 8 day? It's not the number 8. This is the number 1. That's the question the Kli Yakar asks, and he answers as das was the Torah, that which the Torah calls this day with the number the 8th day is this b'chadei. It's in order to der Tzelin, the Mila, to tell us the highness of this day. It steht doch gleich nach dem. It says afterwards in the parsha ki hayom Hashem nir aleichem. Today, God will appear to you. As in dem ach tag, that in the 8th day, beweist sich der Eibishter, God revealed himself to you. Is there pasuk makdim? The sentence, the Torah tells us, for vos davke is dem tag. Why is the 8th day so great? Why is it that this day is the day that God revealed himself? And why didn't he reveal himself previously? Is the Shemini, because it's number 8. When the Rebbe, and therefore is in him, Faran, a Hechra Kedusha is a higher level of holiness. Wie in the Friedekat Sieben Tag than in the 7th day, 7 days previously. Barum, call Mispar Sheva, because the number 7 is mundane, and the number 8 is always holy. Right? The world, God created the world in 7 days. True, Shabbos is the 7th day, but nevertheless, it's part of the creation. It's part of the creation. And outside of the creation, that's the number 8. That's why circumcision is on the 8th day. Und das is oich der tam. That's the reason why Mila, the circumcision, pushes off Shabbos. Well, Mila, because circumcision is B'Shmini, it's the 8th day. When Shabbos is Shvi, and Shabbos, as holy as it is, it's only number 7. When Ruchni doche Gashmi, and spiritual pushes away physical. Huh? So Shabbos is part of the creation. Somehow it's part of it. It's God's day, but it's God's day in the creation. And 8 is pure godliness. Das was sagt euch from Mispar Shiva. That's what it says, that the number 7 is weekday. Mainter nit chol mamash. It doesn't mean it's really totally mundane, but only because Shabbos is holy. Nor vibalt as oich Shabbos, because Shabbos is also part of the 7 days of creation. Is there noch als is afterward verbunden, is connected with the creation. Und legavi dam mispar. What about that? But that's the number 7. But in regarding the number 8, versus Hecher, which is higher than any of the creation, un is miyuchad, a love, Yisbarech, that God singles out this day totally for himself. Vertafilu Shabbos, and regarding to the number 8, even Shabbos is called mundane. Azoya Zoyach, so it's also understood from the example of the Kli Yakar, which the Kli Yakar bring. That was the commentary we said before that asked this question. Da vegan the Milas Kedusha from Mispar Shmini, regarding the holiness of the number 8. As their kinor, that it says that the harp in the days of the Mashiach will be 8 strands. Where does it say that? 8 strands. Let's see. It says over here in the Gemara, in Eruvin. Vaz Pashu, which it means as their kinor from Beis Hamikdash, that the harp, whatever you want to call it, the loop, the lute, the lyre, Vaz is given for Shivas Nimim in the Holy Temple. It says that the harp there, the Levites used to play instruments, right? They used to play instruments. So one of the instruments, it says, was a kinor. A kinor. Now a kinor is called a violin, but that's not what it was. A kinor was something like a harp. And this harp was 7 strands, 7 strings in the Holy Temple. That was holy temple. Nor the Gabi Dem Kinor, but in regarding to the harp that's going to be in the days of the Mashiach, because that's what's going to be played in the Holy Temple. The 7 is called mundane. Alle inyanim, all things, spiegeln sich up in Torah. Everything is reflected in the Torah. Is gefinen mir endlich derzu oif benogea Torah. Everything which is reflected in the Torah, we can find something also similar in the Torah. Torah, even in this world, is holy. Well, from this, nevertheless, it says regarding the Torah that Mashiach is going to teach everybody. This Vertz and Angeruf, and it's going to be called Hevel. It's going to be called just like wind. And therefore, refers to him. We have to understand the tirus from the Kli Yakar. What is this answer? What the Kli Yakar gives for Anfert nit l'chiora the kasha. It doesn't. The answer that he gave does not answer the question. But what's his question? His question was, why do we call this day the 8th day? 8th day seems that it has a connection to the 7 days before. Really, in the temple, the tabernacle, the 8th day was not connected to the 7 days before. The 8th day was a totally unique thing on its own. Totally unique on its own. It was a day that God revealed himself, totally unconnected to what was before it. And what's he trying to tell us? That the number, the 8, because there's the 8 strings in the tabernacle, and 8 is higher than 7. But still, the fact of the matter is that number 8 is a Zoy Madrig. It's so high that it's unique for God alone, totally. Hecher from Klal Zabri, it's higher from any creation, higher from any numbers. It's not part of any order. Wazi doch lechaora in ganzen kein sheichos nit to the Sheva Yamei Miluim, which the 8th day apparently should have no connection to the 7 previous days. Vazayin and Keneged, the Shiva Yamei Binyan, which they correspond to the 7 days of creation. Is for Vos haste their tug mit Namen Shmini. Why is it called the 8th day? Was thus made, which this means as areas a hemshech to the free of the Kazivan tug, which is a connection to the 7 previous days. Right? It's almost like a lady saying that she's pregnant already. She's pregnant for 4 years already. What do you mean 4 years? She says, what do you mean 4 years? Yeah, I gave birth to my son, back there 4 years ago. But I gave back my birth to my son 3 years and 9 months ago. So what do you mean you're still pregnant? She says, no, I just keep counting. From the time I'm pregnant, I just keep counting and counting. So, so that my son, my pregnancy has already been 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, right? That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. The time that the child was in the womb, that was only preparatory. When he was born, it's a whole different thing. It's the same thing over here. The 7 days of inauguration, that was like preparation. That was like the child growing in the mother's womb. When it came out, all of a sudden, the tabernacle now, on the 8th day, you could start working. It was a whole new thing. You don't relate it to what was before. It's not the 8th day. This is really the first day. If so, the question that the Kli Yakar asked was a good question. The number 8 here in this case was a totally different thing. It's not a number 8. This was after the 7 days. That's it. You graduated. You're born. That's when you start a new counting. Number 1. What are you still connecting it back to what was before? Why? Is there beer? The explanation is like this. All of Giluyim Delasid, everything that's going to be in the future, like we said, the harp of the Moshiach, so an upper hang that they totally depend in unzer itzter avoda, what we do now. Chach de Giluyim, even though the revelations that's going to be, and then when Mashiach actually reveals himself, brings the redemption, will be bechinas from Shmini. It'll be like number 8. Vivarum is like it says in the rabbis, Kinor Shmona Nimim, like it says that there's going to be the harp of the Mashiach in the days of the Mashiach will be 8 strands, Hecher from Klolos and Yinabrira, higher than anything you could possibly imagine, higher than going out of Egypt, higher than anything that ever was in the creation, higher than the giving of the Torah. Univroim Mitzayin Avoda, but nevertheless, us with our service alone can init gegrechen. We can't reach this number that's going to be in the days of the Mashiach. Nor but the Giluyim, these revelations which are going to be come there, they come from, it's a pure revelation from above. Pure miracles will be in the days of the Mashiach. But from deswegen, nevertheless, darf men haben unser Itzer Avoda. Nevertheless, we have to have our work. In order to mamshich sein, to reveal the madrigas was avoda, is to say a kli, because what we're making is just a vessel. And then nachdem shlemas avoda vetmen geben, we can give from above the revelations from the future. Hecher from avoda delengen, which is higher than any of our service can possibly reach. It's like if you go to let's say the king. The king says, okay, I want you to go home and make a bag. You go home and make a bag for the king. A king needs a bag. Open up the bag, and the king puts diamonds into the bag. The bag you made costs $3 to make. The diamonds are worth $100 million, $1 billion, right? You have to make the vessel. A dugma, for instance, like Shabbos. Shabbos is generally in 2 different levels. Aleph, there is Einer from the Shivas Yom. It's one of the 7 days of creation. Nor in Fargalech mit the Friedekazeg tag is their Kodesh, but in comparison to the previous 6 days of the week, Shabbat is called holy. But the Kedusha, but the holiness is verbunden, is connected to the creation. Bechinas Ishtalshlus, which is called the chain of creation. Und wird nimshach during avoda, and this is drawn down by the service of Jews, what they do the whole week, like it says, Lasot at Shabbos, we have to make Shabbat. But there's another level of Shabbat. Shabbat is a me'en, it's something like the future. From them Yom Shekula Shabbos, from the day that's all Shabbos. Of us is Hecher, which is higher from the whole entire creation. Like we said previously, Ken Mensu der Madrega, Nitsu Kaman, you cannot possibly reach this level on your own service. It's a gift from God. Nor Zivert, it is Nimshach Milamayla. This aspect of Shabbat can be drawn down from above, etruta dilatata. God gives it alone, on his own. Like it says in the Gemara, as oif the bechin and Shabbos, and the level of Shabbos, God says, Matana tova yesh li. I have a free gift. I'm giving a good free gift in my storehouse, and it's called Shabbat. So we see the same thing as Shabbat as something like the revelation that's going to be in the future. And the work that we're doing now, we can compare this a little bit to what we have Shabbat now. On one hand, we have Shabbat, that we have to work 7 days of the week. We think about God, to serve God, but we don't have the big revelation. On Shabbos, you have a feeling of God. And it says the Rebbe, there's two aspects of this feeling. One is connected and, so to speak, commensurate to the work we do. And the other one is just a free gift that God gives us, completely not relevant to the work we're doing. Like the example I gave, you just make a bag, and all of a sudden the king fills it up with diamonds. This is the level of Shabbos. This is a gift from above. But a matana, which a gift, which a gift is something you get for free. It's not because you did anything. Nor davka, while they're noising, vil im given the matana. You want to give him the gift. Oy men git him ois zu lieb deine avoda is es doch a verdintige ba leugnen und nit kein matana. If you give a person according to his work, then it means that he worked for it. This is his wages, not a gift. But I think we'll have to stop here. Okay, so again, what does the Rebbe want over here? This Torah portion is called the 8th day. The 8th day says is because it comes after the 7 days of the preparation, 7 days of Miluim. Asked the Kli Yakar, a beautiful question, says, but this is not, you might make the mistake and think that this 8th day somehow or other connected to the previous days. It's not. It was a whole totally different level. It had nothing to do with it at all. This 8th day of the that's called here, it's called the 8th day regarding the tabernacle. This was the day that God's presence really rested on the tabernacle, is completely something else. It's something like the days that the Jewish people counted when they were going up to Mount Sinai. It says they counted 49 days, 7 weeks, that's it. The last day was called Shavuot. It's a holiday, a totally different day. Also, this day should be given a special name because this is the day that God's presence rested on the tabernacle, a totally different level, a totally different world. It's like the difference between a fetus and a born child. You start counting when the child is born. Here also, you should start counting when the tabernacle was finished. Don't call it the 8th day. This is the first day. This is, well, the answer is because it's something like the future redemption, that we have to work for it, and then God gives us this free gift. But we'll have to understand how this works, and God willing, we will understand tomorrow. Let's learn Hayom Yom. In the Tehillim of this, okay, it's just something in grammar, Hebrew grammar. Good. Have a good day with Moshiach now. See you all, God willing, at 3 o'clock.